Hey guys, I hope everybody's doing well. Today I wanted to make an audio about honest conversations with God, but also learning that self-love isn't a bad thing. But we can't follow the self-love that the world teaches us, which is, haughty and very self-centered and very selfish. But we have to understand that our life was paid for with a price, and Jesus didn't die for us to hate ourselves or to constantly reject us, right? And so I was having a conversation with God this morning, and I was just telling him about everything, all the things that I'm struggling with. And when we have those thoughts that you think at the back of your mind, but you never really bring it to God because you don't think it's that big of a deal, or you are used to handling things on your own, so you don't think he would care. Those are the thoughts and the things that we need to bring to God. I had this event that I'm going to, and I was telling God, I don't really have anyone to go with, and I feel like nobody that is in my life shows up for me the way that I show up for other people. And I was telling him my honest truth is that I don't feel supported, and I feel like when it's time for people to come out and show out for me, when I've accomplished something or when I've achieved something, it's like I'm scrambling to find people and beg people to come with me to do these things. Whereas when people need me, I'm right there. And I was asking him, I'm like, is this because I'm too available, or is this because the people in my life don't really support me? And that was a thought that I was having in my mind for a very long time, but I didn't bring it up to him because I just didn't think it was important. I thought, well, he's God, he knows everything, he sees everything. But the point is that he wants us to come and bring it to him. And so then and there, I'm like, I don't know who to take. And then he gave me a person. And I was like, this person would be perfect to take, and I feel like this person would show up for me. And so then and there, I got a solution to my problem simply because I brought it up to him. How many problems are we harboring in our minds and handling ourselves that are completely out of our control when we can just put it at God's feet and he will give us a solution then and there? And so that is the first part about what I wanted to talk about, which is honest conversations. Don't be afraid to tell God those shameful, those embarrassing thoughts. I know a lot of the times these are the type of thoughts that we hold away from telling our friends, our family, just because it makes us look bad, but we don't look bad in God's eyes, and he can deal with human emotions. So next time you have a conversation with him, and you're bringing a situation to him, tell him everything you feel about that situation. Don't worry about being right or wrong. Worry about taking it to him and knowing that he will make things right regardless, if you're right or wrong. And that's the first part. And then secondly, I have a devotional. It's called Quiet Times with God by Joyce Meyer. You can get it on Amazon. And this is the devotional that I read. And I read the date for May 22nd. And this one was about the title of this devotional was You Have the Right to Feel Good. And this devotional was basically just talking about how, oftentimes we think self-rejection is praising God. And when we reject ourselves, that's giving more glory to God. And we get it misconstrued because there is verses in the Bible that talk about denying ourselves and picking up our cross and losing our life in the world to gain life with God. But a lot of us take that as we have to see ourselves as unworthy. We have to belittle ourselves. We have to hate ourselves so that we can receive God's love. But God gives us agape love, which is the love that is insurmountable, the love that covers all things. And so he is not afraid for us to love ourselves. And I think the truth is we are afraid to love ourselves. I know that a part of me is afraid to love myself because I'm afraid that love is going to turn into pride, and that pride is going to be very hard to take down. And so I've always had very low self-esteem. I've always never believed when people said good things about me, because in my mind that was the humble way to do it. But in humbling ourselves, we were actually rejecting ourselves, and God paid a price for us, and he didn't pay that price for us to hate ourselves or to reject ourselves. And yes, we need to be able to point out when we're having too much pride in ourselves, but You cannot show up in the place that God has for you hating yourself or not trusting yourself or rejecting yourself. And this isn't just about physical appearance. It's also about your talents and your gifts and the things that God has given you. Like, if you don't believe in yourself, how will anybody else believe in you? If you don't show up for yourself, how will anybody else show up for you? And so I think what the most important part about that is we need to find a balance between loving ourselves, but also knowing that God is before us and ahead of us and behind us and beside us, and knowing how to love ourselves while also being able to receive God's love for us. And it's that love that God has for us that makes us love ourselves even more, right? And a part of us will always say, well, God, what do you see in me? But what God sees in you is your humanity, and that is the very thing He loves about you, right? This is the way that He created us. We cannot sit here and reject the very thing He created. We don't reject the water and the resources that He created in front of us. We humbly take that in, right? Humbly take that in because He's given it to us, and we know that it's beautiful. Whenever we see a beautiful nature scene, we take a picture of it, right? Because it's beautiful and God created it. And so we have to start seeing ourselves in that way. And if you're afraid that you're going to get prideful, if you're afraid that good thing might turn into a bad thing, then you pray over it before you go on that self-love journey. You pray and you say, God, I want to learn to trust myself more. I want to learn to love myself more, but I don't want this to be pride. But I don't want to exalt myself over you. So show me that balance. That's all it takes. You don't have to do this mega colossal prayer. Like, all it takes is honesty, and God will give you your solution.